Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and this morning I'm looking at a very helpful handbook from LEXISNEXIS and TOLLEY. It's called the Finance Act Handbook 2014, and it deals with the legislation. It's something that I think is most important. There are a lot of contributors. I'll show you the book in a minute. A lot of people have been involved in compiling this, and we've given it a title. Elizabeth and I have written a review, and we've said from TOLLEY'S the best in class guide to the Finance Act. It's a big book, of course. It's a paperback, quite light. There's not very much on the back, spine on the front. It's a nice white cover, which is quite interesting. It runs to something approaching 630 pages, something like that. You've got a good detailed index at the back, which makes things a bit easier for being able to find stuff. You've got the finance bill debates right at the back, and let me just go to the front straight away to show you. That's the front piece there. Now you can see the huge number of contributors. I'll hold that up just for a minute. I can't really go through all of them because there's just so many, but this is an erudite publication, and it is effectively a definitive word in what they've been trying to do. There's a foreword from Bill Dodwell, which is there right at the beginning, setting out what the purpose of this handbook is, and Bill is from Deloitte's. That was written in August 2014 because the bill became law in July of 2014. I'm recording this in the autumn. Now you've got the contents, which is structured there. You can see what you've got. You've got the section numbers nicely set out there, and you've got very useful recent dates and abbreviations, which will give you some idea of where we're going. This tells you about all the authors involved, because a lot of people have come together to bring the subject to everybody's attention. You'll see some more names there, and I'm going to make sure you see all of the names of the people, because they've all been working extremely hard on this. There's the last part, and then you go straight in from there to the Finance Act itself, the introduction, what it's all about. And there are some very useful general notes which are included, which will assist you in trying to understand what this is all about. The general notes are particularly important, I think. Let me leave the book there and tell you what we think about the book. We've sent it to the journals and put it on the web, and what we say is, when it comes to choosing a guide to the Finance Act, this handbook from TOLLEY'S is definitely top of the class. TOLLEY'S are specialists, and I think they really are the leaders, the pathfinders in this particular area. It's been written, as I've indicated, by experts and experienced practitioners, a whole range of them, almost 30 in total, and it presents in a convenient format the full text of the Act together with accompanying commentary, and it's worthy of note that you can find out which contributor has commented upon each section of the Act and which schedule in the About the Authors segment, which is right at the front, if that's what you're looking for, to get some idea of who's been responsible for which bit. You can't fail to be impressed by the accumulated expertise which has been placed at your fingertips with this compact volume, and I thank TOLLEY'S for doing this. Writing in the foreword, as I've indicated, do read that, Bill Dodwell from Deloitte points out that this is the final significant Finance Act of this current Parliament. We have the general election in May 2015, and we'll see where we go from there. We could also be confronted, of course, by a final brief act next year, he adds, before Parliament is dissolved for the May 2015 election. Even sooner, as we write, is the Scottish referendum, which actually we now know the result of. When we wrote the review we didn't, but the consequences obviously of that will still be reverberating, that the no vote succeeded with about a 10% majority. However, that's now back on the back burner, and the current Act we're looking at today has introduced a number of changes of which professionals must be aware, hence the necessity of purchasing the handbook. It's pointed out in the foreword that the most significant budget announcement was the proposal to remove the need for prospective pensioners to take an annuity scheduled to take effect in 2015. The current Act, however, includes measures regarding income drawdown which will offer people in this position greater flexibility. And you will be aware, since we have even written this review and the book's come out, of statements by the Chancellor of the Exchequer and the Prime Minister about promises that are going to possibly be implemented next year should they win the election. So there's quite a lot of change in the air, but we need to know where we are specifically at the end of 2014 with this handbook. Other changes, some controversial, include provisions aimed at restricting the activities of, for example, promoters of tax avoidance schemes. Big issue, this one. It was mentioned at the party conferences. That's covered in Part 5. And there's a substantial relief to those investing in qualifying social enterprises. And in the case of these and other changes, the Act should be carefully read and judiciously interpreted. With this point in mind, it's useful to have a read of the final section of the handbook, the finance debates. They're right at the back. I showed you them near the index. They cover a number of areas from partnerships to pension flexibility to oil contractor activities. Thankfully, the handbook is easy to use with a detailed contents list and an extensive 13-page index at the back, in which, interestingly, almost 2 pages are taken up with listing the almost innumerable issues relating to tax avoidance, which of course is the theme at the moment. Certainly busy practitioners wishing to be thoroughly briefed on the new Finance Act will find this handbook indispensable as an authoritative work of reference and a convenience research resource. And the publication date is cited at August 2014 because it came out very quickly after the publication of the Act and the passing of the Act. These are the finance bill debates which I mentioned earlier. There's only a shortish section, but I think it's quite useful because it gives you some idea of some of the questions and answers that have taken place. And again, just to show you the basis of the Act itself, you've got, just taking the middle bit, you've got all of the basic information. Those are pension schemes, promoters of tax avoidance schemes. You've got general notes on that as well, just to show you. Anyway, thank you to all the contributors and to LEXISNEXIS for an excellent publication. I'm sure it's something, if you are a tax lawyer or involved or interested in this, you've got some indication of where the country is going as we move now towards a new Parliament and new policies possibly in 2015. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.